Now, I know how much you two love rigorous testing at the hands of a robot. So it's time to play Portal Stories Mel!
You've been selected from a large group of candidates for a special test in our temporary testing areas. When the train arrives at the station, head into the town and into the Aperture building. Don't worry, you'll know where it is. You'll get some more pre-recorded messages once you're there. Now, get ready to do some science.
Portal Stories Mel is a community mod made for Portal 2. It is free, but you will of course need Portal 2 to play it. The game was made by an 8-person team. Amazing. Set in 1952, you play as Mel, an Aperture Science test subject. But in classic Aperture fashion, everything goes wrong. And after a short cryo sleep, you wake up in a rundown facility.
The storyline is based heavily on the characters and events from Portal 2, and it's really cool to see a new take on this world with new characters and new settings, and that old school portal gun.
You can tell that the developers have worked really hard to make something interesting with this, and they've stayed pretty true to the magic of Portal, although the voice acting leaves something to be desired.
Don't worry about the height. Had a few of my scientists make what's called long fall Aperture Science innovators long fall boots. That was easier to think of than I thought.
Affirmative. Humour is one of the hardest things to do well in a game, and whilst their efforts were commendable, it did not live up to the sharp wit and dulcet tones of GLaDOS.
Look at you, sailing through the air majestically, like an eagle, piloting a blimp.
I think somebody's got a bit of a crush.
Negative.
What? Are you blushing? I didn't know you could blush.
Negative. My reactor's just running a little hot today. Moving on. Whilst you don't need Portal 2 actually installed to play Portal Stories, you will need to own it in your Steam library. But it's probably best to play this after finishing Portal 2 anyway, because the game can be rather difficult and there is no tutorial.
Yes, absolutely, Darren. You'll need to use all the tricks that you learned in Portal 2. Such as using gravity to propel yourself across long distances, or coating surfaces in blue repulsion gel so you can bounce off it. You are very much thrown into the deep end, so it's either sink or swim.
Yes, the puzzles in Portal Stories use elements without really explaining them. I mean, even I had trouble remembering what some of the gels did. So I imagine it'd be really tough for a brand new player who's never played Portal before.
Yeah, and things do get pretty tricky. Shooting consecutive portals, flying across steep drops, mid-air portals, turrets. There can be a lot to wrap your head around at times, and sometimes I just did not know what to do next.
In my experience, humans require periods of respite to allow new perspectives to flourish.
What are you saying, Darren?
Well, he's saying that sometimes it's wise to take a break from the puzzle so that you can look at it with fresh eyes.
Affirmative. Spawnlings should not get discouraged if they get stuck, because sometimes rest is the best way to progress.
You know, I think you're right, Darren. Sometimes I would be totally stuck. Then I would go away, play with my cats a bit, bake a cake, have a nap, come back. Bam! I had the solution. It's like my subconscious was figuring it out for me.
It's called incubation, Bajo. It's the idea that an answer sometimes comes when you're relaxed, rather than overly focused on finding a solution. Social psychologist Graham Wallace wrote some very important and interesting papers about it. I can show you if you like.
Wow, Darren, maybe later though.
Oh, all right.
But you're right, focusing on puzzles for too long can get a bit frustrating. Most of them took me a few tries to solve too, and some of them left me scratching my head for ages. But that portal mechanic is still so much fun.
However, they've made a couple of changes to the gameplay that create a rather different feel. For example, you can now shoot portals while you're still standing halfway through one. They've also added new elements, like these incineration barriers that can turn into lasers. An entire wall of lasers.
Yes, okay, Darren, okay, settle down. Well, these changes and additions change how you approach a puzzle, and it certainly feels unusual. Can I go here? No. Can I go here? Nope. But it's not a bad thing, really. I quite liked trying different things to see what works.
Yes, but it's not quite as polished as the real deal, is it?
Negative. In Portal, you always get the sense that the placement of every single wall and grate exists to help you solve the puzzle. This makes it easy to take inventory of everything and decide what to do next. It also makes it super satisfying when you finally do figure things out, because the answer always then seems obvious, and you feel super clever for seeing it correctly. But in Portal Stories Mel, it feels like there are a few hidden or unnecessary elements.
I know what you mean, Darren. feel like a switch or something that you have to use but you can't find it, and sometimes you don't even know that you're looking for it. Or maybe just a jump that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and the subtle cues that Portal 2 uses to lead you across visually complex areas are lacking here. Sometimes I feel like this game is leading me to irrelevant areas. Why is this light here? Is this wall important? Where am I going? It's not always clear you're going the way you need to go, and the problem with that is sometimes the solution doesn't feel like it's the way the puzzle should be solved.
Yeah, it may sound like we're nitpicking here, but it's hard not to do because we love the Portal series so much. But this really is a well put together game, and you can tell that it's been made with love. So I'm giving it 4 out of 5 rubber chickens.
Yeah, this is still certainly impressive, and it's challenging, which is my favourite part of the game. If you loved Portal 2, you will absolutely love this. I'm giving it 3.5 out of 5 rubber chickens.